The question is, not just for investors, but for everyone, what needs to happen at this summit to consider it a win for both sides? I want to bring in former Assistant Secretary of Defense and Center for American Progress, senior fellow Larry Korb. Larry, it's great to have you here this afternoon.
Nice to be with you.
That's the main question here. What would a win be, in your opinion, coming out of this summit, and especially if it's the first of many meetings to come?
Well, what would be a win is if President Trump and Kim could establish a framework for future negotiations and agree to something small. For example, North Korea continues its promise not to develop nuclear weapons or test them, and the United States may cancel one of its military exercises or not use B-2 bombers, for example, in the next exercise. And then they could agree to meet in 6 months again to see if there's progress made on both sides.
Well, you know, that was one of the questions that was lobbed at Secretary of State Mike Pompeo this morning from Singapore was, is a troop drawdown on the table, whether it's in South Korea or Japan? You know, Prime Minister Abe and President Trump did have a phone call not within the last, I think, 48 hours about all of this summit. I mean, the Japanese are certainly on edge, as are the South Koreans, that too many promises could be made to Kim Jong-un that would leave them defenseless.
Well, no, I wouldn't take out any troops. I said scale back the exercises. We have these two very big exercises that we do every year. So sure. It includes, you know, B-2 bombers, which don't have nuclear weapons, but Kim thinks that they do. But I wouldn't take any troops out until you begin to get them to dismantle part of their nuclear complex, and you have a rigid inspection regime to make sure they do, because, as your correspondent said, we had these agreements going back to the 90s, and they eventually end up not keeping them.
Yeah, I mean, the six-party talks, I mean, there are two major groups of years where those failed, and it was because the North Koreans launched missiles. Let me ask you about this, and this is something else that Mike Pompeo brought up this morning, and you kind of mentioned it just now. He immediately wanted to defend himself and the country, the intelligence community, against the New York Times report that came out that said that basically that we are not ready to go in as a nation, the United States, to go in and actually do the inspections. You know, we don't have the intelligence. Basically, we don't have the manpower. I mean, it was a pretty scathing report against the administration. What did you make of that and Pompeo's answer as well, that we are absolutely ready to go in and do inspections in North Korea?
Well, again, I think we are ready to go in, but it's not perfect because they're a very, very closed society, and previously they have been able to get around the inspections. But I think what we want to have is the International Atomic Energy Agency go in. Those people really know how to do things, and to make sure that we continue to get verifiable intelligence on it. And as part of the deal, we want them to tell us where things are, and if it doesn't add up, then we need to go back in and try and get them to be honest about it.
Yeah, no, anywhere from 30 to 60 nuclear weapons are in that country right now, according to our intelligence we have right now. Two kind of side questions here. First off, do you think that they would be open to trade with the United States, the economy, which, as we've heard, exports to China are down 30% for the North Koreans in general. So they are hurting right now thanks to those UN sanctions. But also, how important is China in all of this, do you think?
Oh, China is very critical, because China does not want to see, obviously, a nuclear war on their doorstep. On the other hand, they're terrified that you'd have a unified Korea with United States troops on their border. So they're trying to play it both ways. But I do think that they will try and get him to move toward denuclearization and basically to ensure that their economy starts doing well, because a lot of people are fleeing North Korea and coming to China. And so if they start the denuclearization, you can then start lifting some of these economic sanctions. And they're also key to the economic sanctions, because if they decide not to keep them, the rest of the world are not going to have that much of an impact.
How does this work, Larry? Do they sign something at the end real quick? You sign a document? How does that work?
Well, again, I think there'll be an agreement that could be something signed, but it's not going to be a treaty right away, like you have that you would have to submit to the Senate. But you would have an agreement that outlines it, and then you would have follow-ups to make sure that that both sides are following it, particularly the North Koreans. And if they're not, then you don't take the actions you agreed to.
Yeah.
That's why I wouldn't take any troops out, but I would say let's, maybe slow down some of the exercises that we do.
Yeah, Larry Korb. Larry, thank you. You're quite the authority on all of this. We appreciate your time.